Ipswich Buses, your local bus company serving your football team. Buses run every 10 minutes. Avoid the traffic. Don't get stuck in the delay. Get Ipswich Buses today. A single from only £1.20, a return from only £2. Find out more information at www.ipswichbuses.co.uk. Ipswich Buses, proud to partner with Talking Town. Hello again, my friends, and you are my friends, and welcome to your Monday evening Talking Town Extra Time. Wow, what a weekend. Whirlwind. It's been just non-stop since Saturday evening's full-time show. Lots to digest, discuss, think about. We're going to have a legend with us this evening, Marcus Stewart. Looking forward to hearing what he's got to say, about the football club, how he feels it's gone down, and obviously John McGreal. I imagine they're very close friends, and they have a lot to say about his ex-teammate who's taking charge for Charlton, Wigan, and who knows what else. But if you'd asked me Friday night when I did the press conference reaction show, takes us into the weekend, that this is where we'd be Monday night. Even I, as a cookie grumbler, if you like, would have been surprised and shocked. So looking forward to hearing what you guys and girls are going to say. Chat's getting busy as always. Before I get any further, I do have to say a huge thank you to all of our contributors that are called TT Fifth Stand Ultras. You are the Ultras because you keep the platform going. Your support is invaluable. Your financial commitments per month allow us to do the shows, buy equipment, which apparently I do need to buy some more because we sound like Daleks at times Saturday night for the full-time show, and just allow us to do things like tonight with Marcus Stewart. So a huge thank you to all of you absolute legends. There are names missing on the board. I need to get a new list too, George, and that's good, really, that we have to keep updating the boards. It's really exciting. And honestly, I can't thank you enough. But let's get cracking into tonight's show. Actually, talking to the devil, let's bring him in. Mr. George Nunn, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, mate. How are you?
Very well. Yeah, very well. Just whirlwind, as I've said. Monday night, it's here. It's just been non-stop of a weekend. Obviously, with the cookie news, first time we've managed to chat on a show about it all. How are you feeling? What's your thoughts?
I'm surprised that it happened, I guess. I mean, like I was just saying to you, I thought you were on a wind-up when you sent me that message on Saturday night. Yeah, I'm not disappointed that it's happened. I don't think there's any secret that I thought his he was struggling a little bit for progress, and I hadn't gone so far as to say those two words that you were desperate for me to say, but
yes, no, I felt we were getting there though. I felt we were really getting towards that moment, particularly on Twitter the other day. But yeah,
I wasn't gonna say. I mean, I think I just was struggling to see, and had been for a long time, where the kind of positive improvement was coming from. So I'm not disappointed or that surprised that he's gone, but the timing probably caught me off guard slightly, like most
absolutely.
people.
Lee Brown asked how my roast was yesterday. Lee, to divert from what we were just saying there, my roast beef yesterday was absolutely stunning. It was the best roast beef I had in a long time. Did you have a roast yesterday? I know you're a pro at cooking lamb, George.
No, we were away for the weekend. We had a late Thanksgiving dinner on Saturday night, which was delicious. So we had our roast on Saturday.
Happy Thanksgiving. Lots of chat in the chat, funnily enough, about Barrow. Obviously, FA Cup draw has been made. Barnsley, if we progress away, which is quite apt, really, because the chap on the show this evening joining us, probably still gives Barnsley fans nightmares. His movement still certainly causes Chris Morgan problems. I can probably say that's for sure. But yeah, what do you think of that draw?
It's relatively unexciting, but we've got to get there first, right?
We have. got to get there first. We're going to bring in our third contributor, Alex. Alex Wilson, welcome in.
Hey guys.
Barnsley, if we progress past Barrow, you were at Barrow on Saturday. What do you think of that FA Cup draw?
Could have been so much better, couldn't it? It's like a game, the replay we don't need, and then it's a case of going to Barnsley of all places. Underwhelming, I think, is the term.
Yes, I would allow Barrow just to progress. Really, wouldn't bother sending the team up there. I just go through. I mean, it's Barnsley away, Oakwell. There's going to be like 25% capacity, and that's what they call a full stadium at Oakwell, I reckon. But hey, I'm joking, of course. But
yeah, the Barnsley fans aren't going to turn up for that, are they? It's like
no, they're not. Obviously, the big news is Paul Cook, and we've got John McGreal as interim manager. Looking forward to hearing what Marcus Stewart's going to say very shortly. But before so, Mark Ashton spoke to the club media, as he said he would do today. I'm sure we've all watched that interview in the chat. I'd love to know what you thought of it. I'm sure we've all watched it here. George, what were your? I know you're a great note taker.
I am.
What was your takeaway from Mr. Ashton's interview of the club?
I think it was pretty standard. I think he said what we were mostly expecting him to say, the usual kinds of platitudes. Really, it's a period of transition. Yeah, fine. The board were clear and unanimous. He said.
Yep, he did.
It reassured us that the season isn't over, which is just about true. Made mention of Kieran Dyer. I thought he and John McGreal actually in his interview made it quite clear that McGreal probably wouldn't be in the running / interested. I didn't think McGreal came across as thinking that he was. No. It was either worth chucking his hat in the ring or well,
he may well have done that already.
Chucking his hat in the ring at this point, but I mean, who knows? Obviously, but yeah, I thought that they were both quite clear to.
I liked McGreal's comment on my club. I can't turn my back on it. I really sort of dug that as a fan. Yeah. You dig that. Ashton, Saturday night board made the decision. Results, and I found this little nugget. Performances. You mentioned the P word, Alex. Results and performances. And he's right, really. And the board have got the red screwed on there. Do you not feel?
Yes, I do. And, that is... I find what he said, quite reassuring that it was a unanimous board decision. It shows we've got a board now that are not afraid to make the tough decision because, they came out and said at the start of the season that Cook was their man as well. They've backed him financially. So it's going to be a tough decision, to come out and say, but as we've said before, we're so used to having an owner that will dilly-dally and not change things until it's too late. To then have somebody come in and like, right, Saturday night, that's not good enough. Let's make a change while we still can. The fact that there's a very clear hierarchy in the club now, in the sense of, the owners have made the decision. It's now Ashton to implement. The fact that he's spoken to all the players as well. He's had the senior pros in. It just shows. It just shows a level of organisation, I think, that we've not had for a great many years, and it comes down to the fact that we've now got people in place that are prepared to make decisions.
Yes. Something we've often craved as Town fans. I've got a little snippet of the interview I wanted to quickly play and just get your thoughts. I found this little bit quite interesting, so bear with me as I play it. Hopefully you can hear it.
Players yesterday, spoken to the players today, spoken to all of the staff today to make sure we are absolutely aligned. The season is not dead. We need to prepare for a January transfer window. We need to prepare for Charlton tomorrow, and so on and so on. We've got games.
That was what I found interesting. We've got, this season's not over. We've got a January window to prepare for, and he was very, keen to stress that to the staff and the players. And the way he said that was when I was watching it, came across as very, emphatic almost that, we've got to prepare for January. Do you feel a little bit that may have played into the decision, George, that maybe the board have looked at what Cook got in the summer, what Cook's got out of it since, and maybe weren't prepared to go into January with him?
Yeah, I mean, I think the key takeaway there is, as I was just saying, when Ashton says that the season's not over, he's right. But we're on the precipice of the season becoming a dead rubber for us in terms of depending on how the
Absolutely.
next half dozen. No, I think I put some stats on Twitter last week, and there's been all sorts of things floating around. But if the next 6 or 7 games don't improve for us results wise, then it will take one hell of a run to maintain the fact that the season isn't over. Which let's hope it happens.
7 points. 7 points outside the players. It's not over. And Alex, January window, preparing for that. Does that get you excited as a football fan to hear your chief executive talking in such way?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I think the way that he's spoken a couple of times, I think, maybe there are some ones in there that haven't quite panned out the way that he maybe wanted them to. So the fact they're willing to sort of go out and improve again, I think is a really refreshing. And it's not the fact that, we'll see what business we can do. We'll see, which striker we can get from a lower league club that we don't want anymore. So that's really refreshing. I think as well, with the January transfer window, it had to be done. The move had to be made now rather than after January. Because if you're going to make the move after January, there's no point, because that guy you're bringing in is going to be in the same situation that Cook was when he came in last year. When he comes in, and he's just got to work with what he's got. He can't bring anyone else in to sort of improve it. And I think, I
don't think the new guy will have any say in that. I think he'll have very little say. I think moving forward, this is now the model. The very modern model of recruitment is done by, let's say, Ashton and Rolls in this case. Your job is to coach the players and get a performance and get a tune out of what I give you. We'll have conversations, of course, but your job is to develop these players and make them better. That seems to be the modern way of clubs.
Yeah, I think it will be very interesting to see how whoever the new guy is, how they get what their title is, if they are manager or if they're head coach.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, he's here. Mr. Marcus Stewart. We're going to bring him in just a second. Obviously, going to ask him about John McGreal, etc. Before I do, a few quick comments. Chris Boyd, I like that all of Cook's teams have gone with him. Clean start for whoever comes in, no carryover. RMSM, Stan was rocking at Barnsley when Marcus scored that first goal. Ian Houston has been linked with Edmondson in January window. Well, they can take the long walk off a short pier. Mike D, the problem is who's available. That's why we should go big. Fishing with Nick. Anyone travelling on the Sporters coach tomorrow to Charlton. And Chris Boyd, Brett and Ed would have formed their own view on PC on their visits to Portman Road. Right. The man that still gives Barnsley nightmares, the ITFC legend, Marcus Stewart. Welcome in, Marcus. How you doing? Oh, we can't hear you, Marcus. You're on mute. We can't hear you, sir. Let's see if we can sort that out. He's nearly qualified for enough intros, George. He's been on the show that often. He's nearly qualified. There he is. You may well do. There he is. Me. Hello.
Hi.
Yes.
Hi, guys.
How are you?
Yeah, very good.
Good.
I'm not in shock anymore, but
this is it.
Yeah.
This is it. Were you shocked?
I was, yeah. Didn't see it coming at all.
No?
I know the past 9 games haven't been brilliant. But when I watched the games, with BBC Radio Suffolk over the 1 month or so ago, I just seen real progress in them. Obviously, since that time, things haven't been going to plan. Obviously, the Rotherham game and then the game of the weekend. So, yeah, I was surprised. I'm not sure if I'm disappointed or not, really. Because I think in this game, you should never be surprised of what's going to happen next. But that genuinely got me at the time, I must admit.
Was it the timing? Was it the fact you felt we were improving when you saw us? What particularly? Because obviously 11th in League One, there's some fans, Mike Brown, I'm sure will be watching this, that wasn't shocked. So what particularly about it got yourself?
I just didn't think, I thought they'd give it to at least the end of the season, or maybe get through the Christmas period, at least, because with the amount of games that are coming up. Normally you can sense these things, with the old manager, you can sense it straight away. I didn't get that feeling. And I'm sure 1 or 2 fans might have done. And I know the fans are split over this in terms of, some wanted him out and some were surprised. So I'm in the surprise bracket. But at the moment, I don't know if it's the right thing or wrong thing. I'm still trying to work out myself. It's just surprised at the moment. I don't know if I'm disappointed or that he's gone or disappointed that he's not stayed. So I'm just trying to
piece it together,
work it out, really.
Yeah, the same way we are. What's your instincts as a player, a coach, a football fan in that right or wrong question? What's your instincts telling you?
My instincts tell me I hope this isn't going to be a trend of the new board. That's all. That's the only thing. I hope it's not a trend that's going to happen for the next 3 or 4 years. That's what I hope. That's the only thing,
Martin.
that's the only thing that I kind of concerns me if it keeps happening every 6 months, every year, because someone doesn't wins 2 games in 9, which is going to happen. Because that will happen. Like in the reverse, the flip side of that, you're going to win 7 games out of 9 in another way, another part of the season. So that does happen in football when you don't go through a good stage. And I'm telling you now, that will happen. That will happen with Ipswich in the next 2 seasons. That's going to happen. It's how you recover from that and how the games around those 9 games, how they go. So I'm just hoping they're not going to be too trigger happy when it comes to sacking players, sacking managers. That's the only thing my instinct told me. Because
it is 44 games into a reign. I do see where you're coming from with that. Dennis Edward, the Rotherham game performance did for cooking. In Dennis's opinion, that showed just how far away we were from a top 6 side. Chris McBain, we've got the backing, got the name, we've got a decent squad. We are more of a draw for a quality manager than we think, onwards and upwards. I thought you were going to say disappointed you didn't get the call from John, Marcus, to come in alongside him.
Yeah, listen, John's got, he's obviously got Kieran there alongside him as well. So, listen, as surprised as I was about Paul Cook getting sacked at that time, only because I just didn't see it coming. Simple as that. No other reason. Like I say, I have no other opinions on it. I'm really pleased that John's got a job. So let's he is Ipswich through and through. He's done a great job at Colchester, which I've said before on this show.
You have.
Since they sacked him, they haven't been the same team. John lives near Ipswich. I know he tries to go to their games when he's been out of a job or when he hasn't got anything to do. I know he goes to watch Ipswich, so he knows their players well. And he likes to play football. So, I think it suits perfectly. I really do. And I really hope he does really well. Listen, I've got history with him as a teammate and doing really well at the club. And he's one of the teammates that, I got on with while I was there. I got on with most of them, is honest truth. We had a great team spirit. But, I've come across John since when I was at Bristol Rovers, assistant manager, when I was at Walsall, when he was at Colchester. So our paths have crossed, in the office after games on the touchline. And I just hope that he does really well. I'm really pleased that the club have given him this chance, and I really hope he takes it. I really do.
Yeah. Have you exchanged messages with him? Have you said?
No, listen, I don't. I'm sure the phone's hot at the moment.
I bet it is.
Hot, and I'm the sort of person that won't get involved now because now's not the time. But in a couple of weeks' time, when the dust settles, I'll send him a message. I do that with every manager I know because I know what it's like. There's 100 messages. They're not going to get read. In 2 or 3 weeks' time, they might settle down a bit, and then I'll send him a message then because, there's a great opportunity for him, and I think it's a great appointment from the club. I really do.
You mentioned his Colchester time there. He did really well. What particularly from that do you feel stood out that will have him in good stead here, do you feel?
Well, I think, listen, in League 2 level, League 1, you have to rely on the loan market a lot with bringing players through, and you have to rely on bringing players through and young players a lot. So I think, you might see that with John. I think he's, he worked with the under 23s at Colchester or under 21s, whatever age group it was, but it was that kind of age group. So he's used to working with younger players, of course. And I think if there's anyone in the Ipswich Academy at the moment that needs to bring him through, he will spot it and he will nurture that. And with a blend of senior players, like you were on about earlier on when Mark Ashton was speaking about them, he spoke to those guys. The senior players have a massive role with, as well as John and Kieran, of helping them lads come through. And John's got an eye for him, so he's proven that already.
George, you seem to think he's not got that much of a chance of a full-time gig. Is that right?
It's not so much that; it's more that I just got the impression from what Ashton said and the way that John spoke today as well, that it didn't feel like it was expected as a possibility. But as we said before, Marcus came on, the conversation we will never be party to the conversations that are going on behind the scenes, and maybe they're just being coy about it. But there was a lot of talk about an external appointment from Ashton, and John did speak an awful lot about the next manager. So yeah, who knows? But as Mark says, I absolutely, obviously, I want him to come in and tear the place up, and do all of the right things. And actually, when something I took from Morsey's interview earlier, brief as it was, he said that John had come in and basically said that he wanted them to be freer, which is, I think, is one of the things that we've all, a few of us have said on the show and on Twitter and in private over the last few months. Is it would be nice to see some of those flair players, in inverted commas, be given a little bit more freedom to go out and just enjoy the game and be themselves. And I'm not suggesting that Paul Cook had told them not to do that, but it was nice to hear that was one of the. He's been there less than 24 hours and he just said, go out and enjoy yourselves, which I thought was great.
That is something he said in his interview with the club, Marcus, that he wants to release the shackles from the players and get them playing freer. Do you think with the games coming up, Charlton, Wigan, resurgent Charlton, a good Wigan side, and maybe more, there's a good chance that John can position himself in good stead here and maybe force his name into contention? Or do you think it is purely going to be just an interim basis?
Listen, I'm sure, I know for a fact that John was surprised at me when he had the conversation with Mark Ashton on Saturday evening, whatever time it was. Mm-hmm. So he'll still be digesting things himself. He would have gone to the game, or having watched them draw the game, and not even thinking that he'd be managing Monday morning. So he's digesting stuff himself. So, but in terms of a job for him, listen, what if he does great? What if he gets us in the playoffs? What if he gets us promoted? What are you going to do? Bring another manager in with who's what? Yeah. But the fans are lynched aboard if that happens.
They would.
Because that tells me if he gets them in the playoffs, okay, or automatic promotion. You can go on a good run. You never know. You see where you are after the Christmas period, and then they bring someone else in. Then that tells me something's not quite right. So he's got it in his own hands. He won't be thinking about the job at the moment in terms of full time, because he's only just got through the door this morning, and he's only probably just still trying to come round from his surprise on Saturday evening. So. He'll have so many things to think about at the moment. And the first thing he'll be thinking about is obviously just winning the next game, which is tomorrow, Charlton, of course. So when there's a break in the week in terms of football week, which ain't going to be for a few weeks now with the Christmas period coming over, he might get time to think about what might happen next if he does all right. But at the moment, he'd just be getting his head down while trying to get results. When it comes to the shackles off, I don't know. I'd like to ask him what he means by that, because the top goal scorer in the league at the moment. That was something's obviously working. Normally when you say shackles off is you're struggling in front of the goal where there's no creativity, you're not enjoying stuff, and it is too regimented. But the top goal scorers in the league, what I think he will do and help with is they've conceded 30 goals in the league, so it's too many. And John, being a defender, will, I'm sure, add value to those defenders as a team, not just a back four.
Could it be a confidence thing with players having their chins around their ankles? Obviously, some have arrived because of Paul Cook, so we've read in the press. Could it be simply a case of just lifting their shoulders up and getting their chin back up?
Of course it is. Ian, listen, we know that a new manager coming in often, not all the time, brings you good results for the first 2 or 3 games. So John's a good guy. He's a humble chap. The lads will like him. It's not all about being liked, but I'm sure they like his tactics as well. So John will just be as honest as he can with them. I don't know Paul Cook very well. I know him well enough to see him in the office after a game when I've come across him when I was at Bristol Rovers, but I don't know him personally like I know John. John will be honest as he can with the lads, and genuine, and he'll be fair. And I think that's all what players want, really. So we'll see. I'm hoping he gets off to a great start. Of course I am. But you just don't know. Good thing about it, he won't have time to think. He'll just be thinking football for the next 4 weeks, 3 weeks.
Instinct.
That's just how it is. He just gets straight on to doing his job and what he does.
Absolutely, yeah. And you say there about being honest with players. Obviously, one of the more successful. I say that without really it being successful was Mick McCarthy recently with Town compared to other managers. That certainly, and all his players, Alex, is fair to say, would always say he's honest with me. You know where you stand, and I think, as Marcus says, that's what players want, isn't it? It's what they crave.
Yeah, it really is. If you're a player, you want to know exactly where you stand with a manager. How can you go out and give that manager 110%? If you don't know where you stand, whether you're going to be here, there, or wherever next week. And I think as well with John coming in, we quite often cried out for a voice in that dressing room that can express just what playing for that club means for those of us that are in the stands for, and spent 20 years, how many years, my first full season was the year that Marcus, joined, and many a happy memory over that period. It really was, and I think, having John in there who said it's my club, I'm going to help if I can, and just being able to be that voice and, someone that's lived the good times of this club and can just hopefully connect that little and just show that passion to me. I'm not saying that Paul Cook didn't have passion, but he couldn't articulate in the same way that someone like John can, what that meant to us back in, 99, 2000 when we were all on the Cornhill celebrating getting promoted to the Prem,
Yeah, and he mentioned Burley as well in his interview to John Marcus. He said, but under George, you learned it meant something to play for Ipswich. I think he said, and you play for the badge, and that's all you can. That's all we expect of you, playing for the badge.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he means by that you come in and you give your all first and foremost. That's the minimum a footballer should do, and that's run around the pitch and show the fans that you care. Firstly, about your own game and your own personal pride. And then you care about the fans. Listen, you come into a club, you don't care about the fans straight away. That takes time. Then you get a connection with them. You don't get a connection straight away because they don't know you. They don't know you as a player. You don't know them as a bunch of fans. So it takes time to get trust from them. But the best way to get trust, get them trusting you, is showing them that you're going to work hard first and foremost. The bonus of that bonus is if you do more than that, they're going to love you. They're not just going to trust you. They're going to love you. So if you're going to be a good defender, if you're going to be a goal line clearances, if you're going to save penalties, you're going to save match stopping shots, like Wrighty did, they're not just going to like you. They're going to love you. If you're going to get goals from midfield like Matty Holland did, they're not just going to like you. They're going to love you then. So the minimum they ask is to run around for the badge. It's that simple. And if you do more than that and you do it well, they're going to love you off the back of it. And John will get that through to them what it means to this club. There's no doubt about that because we've known that they're in the wrong league. We all know that they're in the right league, but they shouldn't be when it comes to the fan base and how big the club is. So John, there's no doubt John will get that through to them, whether it's his next team talk or whenever training round talk. He will at some stage make sure they know what it means to play for the club.
I imagine it's quite a unique situation to come into, isn't it, as an interim? Because I wouldn't have thought there's not many times you come in as an interim manager of a club 7 points outside the playoffs with the manager just being sacked. Normally, it's you're 7 points from safety or you're on the verge of going into the bottom. It's not normal. It's not a per se a normal situation, really, is it?
No, but I think if I'm John and I'm him and I'm thinking this job's just been offered to me, I'm thinking I've got a great opportunity to get this club promoted this year. That's what I'm thinking. I'm not thinking looking down and getting relegated. We've got to win our next game. We've got to win.
Oh, absolutely not.
Two of our next three. I'm thinking straight away what an opportunity this is to get this club promoted. That's what I'd be thinking. And obviously we've got the January window coming up. Now, that interests me because I think George said it earlier on that who's going to bring those players in? Is John going to be part of that process? Is it going to be Mark Ashton? Is it going to be I don't know who the chief recruitment officer is there, so I couldn't tell you that. But the manager has to be part of that, whether he's interim or not. So what if they bring a few players in? John doesn't really agree, but he hasn't got the power at the moment to really do anything about it. But then coming the end of the season, John wants to sign different players if they decide to keep John on. That's going to be a real interesting one for me when it comes to January, and who has the final say on what players come in.
From the outside looking in, Marcus, it appears to be Andy Rolls, Mark Ashton, recruitment led. I mean, we signed a player called Teti Yengi, I believe the name is. Isn't that right, George, from Australia? And I distinctly remember, I might have dreamt it, but I distinctly remember reading or hearing Paul Cook say he hadn't even seen the player, even on a video, before he'd arrived. It was somebody that Ashton and Rolls and co had known. That does seem to be modern football, doesn't it? Where you've got that head coach that's not involved with the recruitment, or isn't it? How is it from the inside?
That doesn't sit right. That doesn't sit right for me. It really doesn't. A manager has to have some sort of say on what players come in. Even if he's not got the final say, he has to have an opinion on what players come in. He's got to deal with them. He's got to be part of that process. Surely, I can't. I would have thought he would be. Yeah. And I understand, it's not just one person picking. It's not just the manager picking, but there has to be a conversation, surely, about who comes in the club, and the manager has to be part of that conversation, surely, or they have to have some sort of dynamic on what the player looks like and who's going to come in, whether it's characteristically or technically, psychologically. They have to have some sort of plan as to what type of player is going to come in, and that's what. The manager, whether it's John at the end of the season or John this January, he has to have a say in who comes in. Whether he gets a last say or not, I don't know. But he has to have some sort of say, surely.
Yes, I would have absolutely.
I find it crazy if he doesn't. If they just go above his head and not even.
I would have thought every manager has a conversation and an input, as you say, and you're the guy inside the profession, so you obviously know better than yourself. Sorry, George, come on.
I was just going to say, it's similar to what Marcus was saying about the relationship between fans and players, right? As a manager and a director of football or chief of recruitment, whatever the role is, you get to know each other over time and over windows, and presumably whoever comes in next, if it's not John or whoever it might be, we will have an idea. Ashton or whoever is bringing in the players primarily will have an idea of the style that they play and the types of players that they want, and they will go from there. And it's about finding the balance. Whereas they might, whoever it is, if they're a head coach, might not have as much direct influence as a old school manager who goes out and does all of the scouting and does all of the negotiations and all of the rest of it, like a Mick McCarthy type, I guess would. It's about finding that balance and knowing the role that they're both in, and I don't think it would. It's, as Mark says, it can't work if it's as straightforward as you just go and coach the players. I'll throw you some players every couple of months when there's a window, and you make them good. That's not how that's going to work.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Ashley Bell says, from what Mark Ashton says, he wants the new man to be involved in the recruitment process as it should be. Marcus, lots of questions in the chat about what we can expect from a John McGreal side. What do you feel we can expect from John's teams?
Listen, you know what I said? John is fair and honest and all that sort of stuff. John's also a modern coach. He knows how to play from the back. He knows how he wants to play. He knows how he wants to get his wingers into the game, his forward people into the game, forward players. You'll see good football attempt to be played like Ipswich expected to be played. That's what you'll see. But you might see it a little bit differently. You've seen Paul Cook. But he will try and play. There's no doubt about that. Listen, he was a great footballer when he was at Tranmere. He was brilliant when he was at Ipswich. He was brought up with a manager, George Burley, who wanted to play football, who was way above his time in terms of tactics at the time, the way we used to play with the back three. He won't play any other way. Of course, there's going to be times in the game where you have to battle and earn your right to play. That's going to happen every game. But once that game's settled down, he will want the lads to play football. There's no doubt about that. You just watch his Colchester games. Just watch one or two when he was manager of those. You'll see what type of football he plays, and it's good, attractive football. But you have to have the right players in to do that.
Any idea on what sort of formation? There's 4-2-3-1 ramblings from Colchester? Do you feel he's that type of manager? Same as Cook, not really play around too much with that formation, having only had 1 hour this morning on the grass with them?
Do you know what? I'm trying to think back from when we played against them, and I can't remember the formation they played. So I'm sure it's 4 at the back. Wasn't a back 5. So yeah, I can't remember, if I'm honest with you. I'm trying to think back. So no, I couldn't tell you. Listen, it wasn't 4-4-2, that's for sure. But
as a coach,
yeah,
if you're John coming in with only 1 hour this morning with them, do you stick with what Paul's been playing formation wise? Because you've only had an hour, so how much can you get across in an hour with that group?
I think first and foremost, you have to go in and just try and. You can't change it now. You can. What you might have to do is change 1 or 2 things. You might change 1 or 2 set pieces. You might change 1 or 2 little plays forward, little patterns going forward. You might do that, but listen. Saying that, he asked me a question. I'm thinking I've hopefully got an hour to think about it, but I've got 10 seconds. Saying that, you might just change it completely just to give the lads a bit of a breather from what they're used to. So give them something to concentrate on a bit. So no, I don't know what he would do. So I've just gone from 4-3-3 to going. No, I don't know what. Yeah, I don't know what he'd do. I don't know. If you ask me now and you put me on the spot, I'd have to have a think about it. I wouldn't know what to do instantly. But he will. There's no doubt about it. That will be the main thing on his mind on how he's going to play tomorrow. As soon as he got the job, he would have been sat down with his staff. He might have done all the interviews with you guys and the media, or whoever. And the first thing we're done is speaking to his staff. What we're going to do tomorrow? How are we going to play? Who's fit? Who's not? What's he good at? What's he good? That's the first thing. So I'm hoping by now he knows what team he's going to play and what sort of formation, because he's got the information in front of him. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what he will do. I think you need a lot of information in front of you to know that.
George is a big fan of yours, Marcus, as everyone is. He's got something he'd like to show you. George, go on, show him. Now's the time. Get the gloves, George.
Dug these out earlier, Marcus. Originals.
I hope you got your windows open, George, because it's a bit too warm inside the house.
We had a number of players.
You wore them all year round, Marcus. Don't pretend like you only wore them because it's cold.
I was doing it when it's cold.
Was it only when it's cold, or did it become a lucky charm for yourself? Because we had a number of players on Saturday wearing gloves.
I never wore it in the summer. You didn't see me in the playoff semi-final. It was scorching. I think it just became when it was cold. I think when we went to Helsing Balls, I thought, right, it's a bit cold over here, so I'm going to put some gloves on.
Chris Morgan might have known where you were if you'd worn the gloves in the playoff finals, Marcus.
Yeah, Chris was just too busy trying to kick me.
Well, he couldn't kick anybody after you broke his ankle to the movement. I love that goal. It's still my best ever goal that I've seen live. We've got lots of chat going on about 4-2-3-1 style of play. Lee Bayliss, our problem is the midfield and wide men, providing a good enough service to our strikers. Charlton is a resurgent team, Marcus. It's going to be a tough test tomorrow, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it is. But most managers, when the opposition, when a new manager comes in, you don't know a lot about the team. The team changes. You don't know how that's going to be. I'm sure Charlton's staff will be going through old footage of Colchester tonight. There's no doubt about it, of when John used to be there. That's what they'll be doing. That's the only information they will be able to get on how John and Ipswich will play tomorrow, or a kind of style. So those guys, Ipswich are going in with a bit of element of surprise. So the Charlton staff wouldn't have a clue really what to expect, if I'm honest. What they will expect is a new manager, new change, new mentality. So they'll expect a 10%, 20% uplift from the Ipswich team. There's no doubt about that. But in terms of tactically, yeah, they'll be going through some fittings. They'll be busy today and tomorrow morning, those Charlton staff. So it's a good opportunity from Ipswich's point of view. I think it's a great opportunity to get our Christmas period up and going.
Love that. And obviously Charlton with Ronnie Jackson still, they'll know, because obviously he came in as interim as well when Nigel Adkins was removed. Anything you want to ask George, Alex? Anything you want to know from Marcus? Could be about John McGreal, about current football, about himself as a player. You've got the opportunity, boys.
I think
Yeah,
you touched on it. Go on, Alex, go on.
Was John one of those players that could act the link between, you know, the management team and maybe those players that hadn't got that voice or got that credibility yet? That, you know, he could act as like that go-between and, you know, wasn't afraid to go on the manager door and be like sort of a dressing room leader, if that makes sense.
John was very quiet, got on with his job, but led by example. And he was serious, John. He was a serious man about his football. That is that simple. You know, he'd have his say. There's no doubt about that. He wasn't a shouter and a screamer a bit like Jim was back in the day. Jim was, you know, the strong personality in the team in terms of,
one's like Jim.
He would let you know exactly how you felt when it was training or whether it was a game. Whereas John would pick his moments to do things like that. But very serious chap when it comes to football. But he wasn't really the link between the players and the manager. You know, the good thing about that team is that we were all pretty good at being captains in different ways, I suppose. You know, I know it's an old saying about, you know, there's more than one captain on the pitch, and that was the case. We were all pretty strong personalities, you know. So, and a lot of us have gone on to be assistant managers or worked in the media or stayed in football or ran successful businesses. So, you know, you don't get that very often from football teams. So that proves that we had strong-minded players in the team, but that we were willing to all listen to each other at the right time. Listen, there was arguments, no doubt about it, but you know, we all respected each other. And John was one of those guys. He was one of a squad of 20 or however many it was that we all got on, who understood our own personalities and understood our role within the team. And John was like that. He was a brilliant football player. His vision with the ball at his feet and his passing ability was brilliant. He had a brilliant football brain. Brilliant.
And that's something we've always said, particularly over the last couple of years, that team, George, just had characters, 1 to 11, characters, leaders, and that's something we've been missing. That we always say we've been missing for a while now, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we were spoiled, right? I grew up, was lucky enough to grow up round about that time. Was when I had my season ticket, went off to uni, the year that we got into the playoff final, and yeah, we were spoiled, and we've been. It couldn't have gone much different over the last 15 years or so, I guess. Mark, from my perspective, something I was going to ask is a slightly different tack. As a player, you've been through that situation where a new manager comes in and maybe it was a shock to you, maybe it wasn't. What helped you? We've had a lot over the last couple of months about the kind of psychology of football and how the club are working hard with players to try and stop this kind of head dropping that I know that they've been concerned about. What would you want a new coach to come in this morning, John or otherwise, to come in and say to you to you know, get your chin up after a shock like Saturday afternoon?
The first thing, you know, a lot of those players would have seen a lot of managers come and go, whether it's at this club or another club, okay? And you kind of get used to the same chat that a manager says to you when he first sees you. You've all got a clean slate. You've all got this, you know, we'll start again. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't really affect you there in that moment as much. Time will only work out whether that manager likes you as a player or not. So, you know, there'll be a lot of lads that have contracts at the end of the season. There'll be 1 or 2 lads that have got another 2 or 3 years on their contract. You know, I'm sure the lads that will be more concerned are the ones with their contracts up at the end of the year. But there was anxiety, you know, from my point of view. At times, the anxiety was a lot of people lied, a lot of managers lied, and you weren't sure whether you were in their plans or not. So those guys who aren't sure, we won't start tomorrow, will be thinking straight away, I'm not in his plans, I'm not doing this, I'm not this. So it's up to John to reassure them that they are, I suppose, those guys. Yeah. But there will be, I'm sure, some guys that aren't in John's plans, but he can't do a lot about that anyway, because as it happens, he's only manager to the end of the season. So saying that, he would do his best to make them players feel as wanted as he can, because I don't know what's going to happen in January, like we just spoke about with the recruitment. So as it stands, he's got these players now between now and the end of the season. One or two might go in January. We don't know. There's a lot of uncertainty at the club from a player's point of view at the moment. You don't know whether you're coming or going. So over the next 3, 4, 5 weeks, we would know what type of players John likes and what type of players might be leaving in January, and what type of players, positions will be coming in January. It's too early to say, but from an anxiety point of view, there will be players there that are anxious, and John has to do his best to make them feel less anxious than they are.
And then on the other side, there's always a flip side to that coin. The players that maybe will have been shown the door or told they can go, I'm thinking Wolfenden, for example. This is now a new chance, new manager, new ideas, new opinions, fresh slate. This is your chance now to be what you perhaps were 18 months ago, a year ago, whatever.
100%. That is exactly how it works. One door shuts, another one opens, as they say. And the players that were sub or not in the squad for recent games will be probably glad that Paul's gone in a strange way, because it gives them a chance to get their careers back on track. And that's exactly what happens. So the anxious side of it, comes with players not knowing if they're going to play. And there's a happy side to it, because you think there's a bit of a hope that I'm going to play football again quite regularly, and not in the under-23s or not in the reserves. I want to hopefully get a chance to play in the first team. So, if John pulls those players, listen, it's a clean slate, and I'm going to give you a chance. I know you've not been playing. Then you'd like to think those players have got a bit of hope, and John's going to keep his word if he does say that to certain players. And that's what I mean by, I've been said player manager said that to me before. Listen, a clean slate, I'm going to give you a chance. And it didn't materialise like that. And that's why I said to myself, I'd never be that sort of coach or manager. So I'm hoping John managed those situations as best as he can, as honestly as he can. That's what I hope.
So, Charlton, tomorrow, what do you think the score is going to be before we let you go and off? But before you do, Ashley Bell has asked, as several people, what's your coaching career? Are you still pursuing a career in coaching, managing? Where are you on that at the moment?
I've actually got a really good job coaching Maccabi GB men's team, head coach of those, which is the Jewish great best Jewish players in Great Britain.
Yeah, wow.
They compete in the Maccabi games in July. So I coach them at the moment, which I really enjoy. They seem a great bunch of lads. I'm still getting to know them. So I'm not too dissimilar to John, really, trying to get to know the lads, trying to get to know their strengths, trying to get to know how to get a tune out of them. So I'm enjoying that. And it's part-time and I love it.
Lovely. Well, good luck with that. And back to Charlton tomorrow. Score prediction before we let you go. The legend that you are.
I think it'd be 2-0, clean sheet.
Ooh, love that.
I'll take it.
No, for Charlton. I'm joking. No, 2-0 clean sheet, Ipswich. Definitely.
Is the Valley a hard place to play at as a player?
Yes, it is. It's a bit slopey, but the pitch is nice. But yeah, it is. You got to keep the crowd quiet like every away game. You haven't got to give them anything to cheer about in the first half. 0-0 at half time is a good score. Obviously, 1-0 up or 2-0 up is even better. But 0-0 at half time is a good score. Keep it tight, and hopefully we can get a couple of goals. That'd be great. Listen, there's goals in us. We know that. We've just got to keep more clean sheets, and I'm hoping that John will contribute that. Maybe today in training, maybe a little bit tomorrow. Who knows? I don't know if they're training tomorrow or not, but I'm sure he would have done some sort of stuff on that, because it's quite clear to see that that's where we've been lacking is defensively this year. Yeah,
you keep saying that John's gotten to the end of the season, but at the moment it's just interim until the new guy comes in.
Okay.
Is there something there?
No. Listen. I ain't spoke to John. I ain't spoke to anyone. Actually, when I'd done BBC Radio Suffolk this morning, I actually said I'll get best man to get in is John McGreal. Get him in straight away. And I literally got in my car about 2 hours later, and he's been appointed as manager. And I knew nothing about it. at all. I do nothing. So me just saying end of the season, that's just me looking ahead. If he is there to the end of the season, if he's there to the end of the season, that'd be brilliant. I think they should at least give him that chance, that opportunity. It's my opinion. You know, why would you take over for a month and then change your style of play and then bring someone else in to change your style of play again? So that means if I have 3 managers in a month or a month and a half or 2 months, but 3 different styles of play, what kind of message is that sending the players? Give him to the end of the season. Give him a proper chance.
Okay. All right. Yep. Could
That's how I
possibly
see it.
work. No, could possibly work out that way. But currently, all we do know as fans is that right, George? Have I got that right? That word in right? Interim until the new guy comes in.
Yeah, so Ashton was pretty vague about it. It said it will take as long as it takes, and if you have to, he said if he has to take an extra week to think about it, then he will. But it was the implication was that he was looking for someone in whoever it might be before January.
Okay.
Okay. I didn't read into that. I didn't read that. So, but if that's the case, that's the case. I just hope John, being a mate, and I know a very good coach and successful manager, by the way. Hope he gets given a good chance. I really do.
Okay. Well, hey, who knows? You know, Mark has to. It's not. It's an extensive search, so it could well be a while, and then that gives John plenty of ammunition or chances to take his shot, as it were. But Marcus, you've been absolutely brilliant for 40+ minutes. As always, you could always do a very good job for 90, let alone 40+. But, what's your best town goal before we let you go? What's your best town goal?
I think it's got to be the two goals in the playoff semi-finals against Bolton, where we were under the cosh and we were down and out more or less. Next goal was so important. So the 2 goals away to Bolton, that got us back in the tie, really, because we were down. I know we could go on about the Wembley one, but I think those 2 ones are probably the best and most important goals of my town career.
Perfect. Marcus, hope to have you on again very soon. Look after yourself, and who knows, we'll be sat here chatting about John McGreal's Ipswich Town in the future. Who knows?
Let's hope so.
Let's hope so. Look after yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks ever so much. Thank you. There you go. What a legend. Are you both okay? You both still contained?
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, I know you were both a bit nervous before the show to peel the veil back for the guys and girls at home. I will just say a huge thank you to Mr. ITFC, Neil Perks, and Matt Stannard for your wonderful contribution through YouTube Super Chat. But I'm sure you'd appreciate I'm not going to interrupt Marcus Stewart. There's people you interrupt, then there's royalty, and Marcus is certainly royalty. Charlton tomorrow. If you were in charge, what would you be looking to be chatting? What would you do? What would the chat? There's a live link. I've dropped it in. What would you be looking to change for Charlton if you were in charge? Anything, or is it a message? What you've heard from Marcus, you've got your own thoughts. Alex, would you be looking to change something for tomorrow?
On the basis of the second half on Saturday, I'd maybe take, because I think it's become quite clear it's going to be, it might. Marcus said himself, it's not going to be 4-4-2, so you're not going to see Bon and Pickett tomorrow. I don't think. I would maybe take. I think McCall is a little bit leggy the last 3 or 4 weeks, and I know that Joe came on and was one of our better players on Saturday. So I'd maybe, in line with players being given a second chance, I'd maybe rest McCauley in, go and say to Joe Pickett, right, it's your game to go and do what you can do in it. And I think, maybe just try and maybe have a bit more of a bigger, more physical presence up front. Physical presence up front might be just a little something to go with Charlton away, possibly.
Yep. We've got lots of comments in the chat. We've got pass forwards. We've got solid 4-4-2 from Monty, 3-5-2 from Ian, 3-5-2 from Matt Stannard, 3-5-2 from John. George, would you be going to 3-5-2? What would you be looking to change?
I'd be wary of changing too much. I think without it wanting to sound, and I'm sure it wasn't supposed to be facetious, like I think that pass it forwards thing, the play with a little bit more freedom. Some of those things, it might be little things like that make them click for the next few weeks. And the problem at the moment, if that's the right word, is that we don't know how long McGreal is going to be around for, and we don't know who's coming in. And like Marcus was saying, you probably wouldn't want them to change too much. But McGreal's got to put his stamp on it. There's no point in him if he genuinely doesn't believe in the system that Cook has put in place. Then of course he's probably not going to try and maintain it for the next 4 weeks, because that doesn't do his stock any favours. So who knows? I'm glad I'm not a football manager tonight.
Well, exactly. He has said, or what I could gather from his interview, that he wants to leave the club in a much better place. You know, obviously keep it in a strong position. Whoever takes charge, you come through these games, you're still within touching distance of the playoffs, all of that. So he'll be focused, obviously, and it sounds simple, but he'll be focused on not losing games. So it could be that he goes back to his tried and tested formula of Colchester, or he's seen something that, you know, that he thinks could work. As Marcus says, you've got the element of surprise on your side. Me personally, sometimes things just fit, they click, and 3-5-2 in this football club seems to be synonymous. They seem to go hand in hand with some of our best times, or certainly, you know, under Burley, McGreal, etc. The three at the back was at times really pivotal, as Marcus was saying there. Doesn't mean you play it, but maybe you see it. I don't know. It's interesting because you've got various injuries. Is Wes Burns back available? I don't think so. Hayden Coulson isn't available, I don't think. You saw that left back issue. So the same issues are still within the squad, aren't they, George?
Yeah. McGreal can't change how injured players are, obviously. So yeah, it's. I honestly don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if he brings in, you know, a completely different formation and just lets them at it. But I'm not expecting any major changes, especially after an hour. Maybe change a bit more before Saturday. Yeah. But I think if it was me, and I'm not a football coach by any stretch of the imagination, tomorrow would be given the that's not clear. Given the time frame, my message would be go out, do what you do, but here's my kind of input from a not psychological perspective, but be freer. You know, here are some things that, you know, just don't worry, don't stress about it too much, and then, you know, figure out the next steps for Saturday.
Play a bit of Bob Marley in the dressing room, singing "Don't worry about a thing." Okay, score predictions then. We are live tomorrow to let you know. Yes, we are live again. The Gov has not stopped working this weekend. He has been here for you, for fans, by fans. I've got some nice comments as well in the other shows, so thank you so much. Your comment, Eddie Spaghetti. Love that name. It really means a lot to have people appreciate what we do here and how hard that we all work, not just myself, but we all do put it in for you. We're back live tomorrow, 7:15. Myself, Stephen Thompson, and Neil Moles, the matchday ticket. Charlton will be here pre-game, half-time if we get certain likes, and definitely full-time for the first Fans React show under John McGreal, interim manager. What's our score predictions going to be? We've got something in the chat to give you more time to think about it. We've got 2-0 from Matt Stannard, 2-1 from Stephen Perry, 0-0 from John Duncan. Johnny Duncan's so positive as always, Johnny. Johnny, have a glass of wine and let's see if we can get that to 1-0. Love you, really, John. Miss you. I miss Johnny coming on the show. When Johnny used to come on the show, it was one of the best times ever. He was so good. Johnny, come back. We miss you. Mark 3-1. Both lights have now gone out on my rig. Carl Brooks, I do think people need to be aware that just because 4-2-3-1 didn't work with Cook, that it won't work with anyone else. Tactics within were the issue, not the formation. Correct, Carl. Good spot. Confident tomorrow of a win. Enjoy your trip up with the Peaky one. Oh, did you not get a link? I'll drop one just very quickly. If you want to be on very, very quickly, then you can be. I think some will feel let down. What do you think that's in respect to, Alex? I think some will feel let down.
I still don't. I don't get what that's in. I think we need more context as to what that is possibly all about. I don't see why we're saying that. If we're saying that people are feeling let down by are we saying that people are let down by the owner? What in what regards is that? I'm sorry, I can't answer that. You know, I think we need more context as to what that's
more
about.
Context, yeah, absolutely, yeah. I do think, you know, football is football, and players, George, are aware. They may say they signed for a certain manager, but come on, it's football. You can't be. Let's just take a player, pluck him out of thin air, Sam Morsey at his age, his experience, and think you're going to come down, play for 3 years, and you have the same manager. You want to, you hope to.
Yep, absolutely. He's got to be realistic about it, and I'm sure he is. Football's a completely different beast to most of the jobs that we're in, where managers don't come and go quite so frequently in most instances. But yeah, I think he's, like Mark said, you get used to managers coming and going, and I don't doubt that they get on, and I don't doubt that Paul Cook understands the kind of player that Morsey is, and a couple of the others who he was more instrumental in bringing in, you'd suspect. But if it's related to that, I guess they might feel let down by the fact that they came in thinking that they were going to play under his coaching. But I don't think they would let it worry them for too long. I'd be very surprised if anyone was demanding a move based off of this, to be honest, especially before we've signed anyone else.
You know, with all those players are ambitious. You know, they've all said that they don't want to be in League One. They want to progress their own careers. I think, you know, as much as they may like and respect Paul Cook, I don't think if you said to any manager, look, Paul Cook's going to stay and we're going to be in League One for another year, or we're going to bring someone else in who, you know, might, you know, get us to the Championship a little bit quicker. I don't think whatever level of relationship you've got with a manager, you'll ever sort of say, oh no, I want that manager to stay and I'll play in League One for another year. I just don't think, you know, they're ambitious people. They want to do the best that they can.
Absolutely. I'm celebrating because look who's here! Johnny Duncan!
Not wine, whiskey.
Whiskey. Drinking whiskey and rice, singing This'll Be the Day. Good song, that one. Johnny, welcome, man. What do you make of all this absolute carnage of the weekend?
Well, it's well timed. I take my hat off to Mr. Ashton because it's well timed. If we'd have left it to the end of the season, nothing would happen. It would have petered out. People would have got pissed off and said, we should have made a change sooner. He's given the new manager December to assess, January to tweak. I've said it all over socials, and I've been right up to now. And let's not get stuck in, this is not the Ipswich way, we give our managers time. Yeah, we give our managers too much fucking time. Right, look at Lambert, look at everybody else, right? He's not been performing. So
who give who?
Your mate Lambert, mate.
This man.
Oh, here we go.
You say the word, he appears. You say the word,
and he appears. As a wallpaper, green screen. It should be a yellow and green screen, mate.
All right, Johnny, you can go off.
Honestly,
people.
Yeah.
But don't bully me, Johnny. Don't bully me, all right?
Seriously, it's the right time. Have faith. I mean, I personally think Ashton knows who he's getting in. It's going to be someone he's worked with before and someone he trusts. Probably Appleton. I don't know what I think about that, but you know, it is what it is. And I look back to the time when we had Shambek coming on and going, "Oh, I thought we were brilliant," and when we're complete arse piss. And I'm thinking, no. Look where we are now. Look where we were. Right? We have got short memories as Ipswich Town. We've got long memories when it comes to all our glory. We've got short memories from the times when we was in the shit. And it's so fantastic now compared to what we had under Lambert. Come on. Think about it. Yeah. McGreal's in.
You're right.
John McGreal. John McGreal. You don't remember that, do you, Martin? Not old enough. See?
No, I'm not old enough, I'm afraid, Johnny.
So, John will get him drilled. I don't think we'll concede. And I'm sticking by my 0-0. All right? I don't need to drink wine to be positive. That is being positive. It'll be 0-0.
No, but it does help.
I don't care. At the end of the day, our new manager is going to be in place by the time the ownership are over for the first game for them 3 games. There's no doubt in my mind they'll be over.
The real question is, though, Johnny,
the new manager, and the owners will be there, and it'll be carnival, and we need to just get behind them.
It's all well and good them coming over, Johnny, but the real question that people at home want to know is, will Johnny be there?
I'll be there. Where are we meeting, Sir Ralph?
Sir Ralph, yeah,
Every
you're
time
round.
I'm there, I am pissed out of my head because I've been on the Guinness and the Black Horse.
Well, that's not a fucking surprise, is it, Johnny?
Well, it's a weekend, isn't it? It's what it's all about.
Callum is shocked. Johnny's pissed out of his head. Johnny, we love you. I'm bringing Lee in as well. He's getting back a full party. Lee! You've heard
Johnny,
it,
how's it
you've
going,
heard
mate? I tell you what, you've been to too many Scar bloody concerts to have that hair on your head. Much too much.
Hey, he's a musician. Anyway. He's temperamental. You got to watch it, all right. Lee.
Is he?
You know, he's a musician. He might storm off in a minute.
No, he won't do that. He won't do that.
off.
Is he?
Heckled.
Oh dear.
Lee, what do you make of it all? It's been an absolute whirlwind of weekend. Last time I saw you was pre-game, Sir Ralph, and since then the whole world has just like sort of been turned upside down, isn't it?
Yeah, it's gone, isn't it? I mean, I was sort of surprised, but not when it came out. It was almost, I think someone said about, you know, like a release, and you think to yourself, it's time to move on. You know, he had his time, and yeah, I think on a reflection, it was probably about right. And you know, our new owners, they're not messing about, are they? That's quite clear, and we've got to move on from that. And to be fair, he had more time than Hurst. In the end, he had more games than Hurst had, more money probably. And I just think, you know, I've always backed the managers, whichever, you know, I've never wanted really to sack anybody, but I just think the time was right. It was, you know, we move on. We've got time left in the season. We can still turn it around. A good time for McGreal to come in for a couple of games until someone's appointed. They'll get a transfer window. I think a lot of people have said on here that you need 2 or 3 transfer windows to really define the club. Perhaps you know, you can buy 19 players. You can have the selection if you like, but they're not all going to gel, are they? We're gonna have 5 or 6 players that you can look at and say, you know, perhaps we need to move on and do something different. So, you know, onwards and upwards. But one thing I want to mention really, and why I want to come on, was about the Chamber comment. You know, the tweet or the Instagram message that he put on, and I think that's caused a lot of disdain amongst people. But what I'd like to say is, and I've always backed Cook, but I was always uneasy when Cook first came in, and he was the demolition man, and he wanted to leave people, you know, outside the ground to catch the bus home on their own. And there was plenty of people on this pod who were all laughing at that. Well, I thought that was not quite right. That didn't sit right with me, and I don't think as a man manager, whether it's in jest or not, that's the right thing to do. And Cook has lived by the sword that he's wielded, and I think Chambers is quite right to come out and say what he said. In my opinion,
you're not
alone. He's not at the club anymore, and you know, it wasn't too bad. I just think it was like, you know, here's one in the face to you, and you know, it didn't seem professional from Cook to me. So that's really what I wanted to come on and say. And I think it's right that, well, not right, but I understand why Chambers come on and said that. He was a captain of a team. Yes, underperforming. Yes, most of the players had to move on. I'm not saying they didn't, but Cook has to live by the sword that he wields.
Yeah, and
he has done, and I, you know, wouldn't have any qualm with what he said, in my opinion.
Well, it's just an ex-player sort of saying, well, he can say what he likes, really. But George, the mentality thing that Lee was saying there, do you want to pick up on that? I know we've spoken before, haven't we?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think we said at the time that, you know, it's not the sort of thing that we would necessarily have said in public or even in private to people, and when you've just come in as a new leader of a group of people, and that it was a dangerous knife edge to be walking on. And I agree with Lee in that respect, in that he's got to reap what he sows. I also think that Chambers probably didn't need to come out and say it, but it was a heat of the moment thing. I think he deleted it relatively quickly afterwards, and I get that. They're not, you know, you can't be perfect and always keep a lid on it, and I'm sure it had been bottled up for a little while. But yeah, I think I can understand why he did it and felt the need to say it. I think it's just a broad brush thing, wasn't it, from Cook? Cook's statement didn't need to be said, because he lumped everyone into one pot and basically said, "You're not good enough."
But they were shit.
Just not.
But they were shit.
As a unit, they were. But as a unit, they're not brilliant now. And they're a hell of a lot better.
Oh, they're better than Drilling, Hawkins, Ward, Chambers, Hughes.
Hell of a lot better players right now.
I'd say let's not live in the now and then look back and criticise, because when Cookie said that, we was going, yes,
Yes.
fucking yes,
Johnny
yeah,
was.
mate.
There was an element of it, and I think we were all wrapped up in the amount of
We
change.
were all
Right?
on that boat, so it's easy to go, oh yeah, that was a bit wrong, wasn't it? Now he's got the sack. He absolutely was saying everything that a large percentage of the fan base wanted to hear. So he needed to get people on side, and he was doing what he needed to do at the time. And I'm not going to knock him for it. I'll be honest with you. How the players that have gone, are they setting the world alight in the teams they're in now?
Well, sadly, one of them is. I'm not going to say the name, but fucking one of them certainly is. I know, certainly one of them fucking is nightmare stuff. My phone blows up every time the bloke passes wind. It's absolutely ridiculous set of circumstances.
Yeah, but it's not, Johnny. It's not about moving them on, is it? It's about how they're moved on, and have a little bit of respect. They are professional footballers. They are human beings. I think Cook just got that bit wrong. That didn't sit well with me. I mean, Martin was jumping up and down, and Cruncher and people like the Fishermen. Well, they were like in seventh heaven. That was like great to them, and I'm not knocking them for that. The way they felt about it, but just as just as someone who's looked after a couple of teams over the years, that's not the way to manage people, and that just didn't sit comfortable with me. And
I mean, the likes,
and I think that's come back to haunt him.
Well,
the likes of Chambers and Skews. I mean, servants for the club. You cannot. I mean, nobody knows exactly how much they've done for the youth players, and
they did a lot, didn't they?
A hell of a lot, much more than any player, squad player, should ever do, even as captain of the club. I mean, it's you've got to take your hat off to them. They bleed blue, and but that when your time, sometimes when players are so embedded in clubs, they don't know when their time has run, and when it's time to move on, and they have to be moved on rather than walk. So it was done wrong. It was done wrong. They should have been treated a bit more respect, but it was time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Johnny, Lee, loved having both of you on
Cheers,
tonight.
guys.
Look after yourselves. Keep smiling. See you at Sunderland. Very quickly, the GOAT is with us. Colin, my main man, you've heard the legends that are Johnny and Lee. You've also heard the legend that is Marcus Stewart. You've heard from these two wonderful giants of the contributor world. What do you make of it all, Mr. Colin the GOAT Plum?
Well, I was very, very pleased to hear Marcus tonight. There was a lot of honesty and a lot of
passion.
Yeah, a lot of passion, and he was talking as if he was a fan. Really, I know he is a fan, but I'd just like to go on record as saying that I said it to him when I met him at Plymouth. He said he would if obviously the job was right. I would love to see that man back at Ipswich Town Football Club. I mean, there was Jeffers there doing the coaching with the defenders. What the hell is that all about? Let's get Marcus Stewart back there, coaching those strikers. I'll tell you what, people like Bond, people like Piggott, they would quite honestly be better players for it. They would be 10 times better players for it within a month. They really would. I mean, the bloke was an absolute legend.
Yeah.
Best one-on-one player I saw apart from Alan Brazil. Best finisher I see probably apart from Alan Brazil and PM. He was just a legend at our football club, and he knows it, but he really needs to be told it by the people that matter, like our owners. Let's get the right people in at our football club, because Gov, I've got to say this to you. I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to rock the boat at the time, but I didn't want Cookie to go, but the people who were actually working under him were nothing but much short of a joke. They really was.
Colin, I feel like there's a lot of Harry hindsight bouncing about in the last sort of 10, 15, 20, 25 minutes. I do, because, if I'd done this show last week, there'd have been a lot of I'm being negative, you know, that they're not as bad as I'm saying, or whatever. George, do you think there's a lot of Harry hindsight sort of bouncing about here?
Go,
Come on,
give
George,
me
get off that fence. Get off that fence, man.
Give me a bit of credit. Give me a bit of credit.
Yeah, go on.
Everybody, including myself, has been saying it about Gary Roberts, not just for 5 to 10, 15, 25 minutes. They've been saying it for the last month or two.
Yeah, I just don't want to kick.
They have, Gov. You know they have.
But I don't want to kick people when they're down. They're gone. They're gone. There's
No,
reasons why
true.
they're gone, and perhaps you're right in what you say, and that's perhaps why they've gone, because you know they couldn't get the team doing whatever they needed to get the team doing. But yeah, they're gone. Let's not kick them too much while they're.
No. I agree with that, Gov. But going on to tomorrow night's game, I really believe that those players. I'm not going to say for a minute they weren't respecting Paul Cook, but I think you'll find. I'd love to be a fly on the wall in that dressing room at about 7 o'clock or 7:15 tomorrow night, because I think respect will be coming out in abundance. You know, I see John McGreal in there. I see Kieran in there. John's played in the Premier League at a very high level. Kieran Dyer's played in the Premier League at a very high level. And I really think that those players will generate a lot from that tomorrow night. I hope and I pray, and I would have thought that John, I know he's only had a day or two, but I would have thought you might. I must say you might see a bit of a difference in the defending tomorrow night. You just might.
Well, he's only had an hour, Colin. He's had an hour on the grass, as he called it. So, you know.
Yeah, well, that's fair enough.
You might see. It should be really interesting tomorrow night. Tomorrow night's game I was not looking forward to. Today, now I'm really looking forward to it. Just to see what you get from different players. You know, style, setup. You might get exactly the same. And if you do, I don't think you should massively overreact. Do you, Alex?
No, I don't think so. Because you know, what can you honestly do? You know, he wasn't expecting to be, you know, in this position. You know, what can you massively expect to change in an hour? Not very much. You know,
I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Alex. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think you know. I think what we've got to do is you know,
not overreact.
Yeah, because what we don't want to do is tarnish. And I'm not saying we would, but you know, the thing that concerns me about having an ex-player come in and manage, you know, especially someone from that era, i.e., a John McGreal, a Tony Mowbray. If things don't go quite right, should we say, we don't want to have that tarnish the amazing memory that they brought into this club. You know, that is what concerns me. I think what John's main role is going to be is, you know, getting them back up. You know, he says he wants to sort of lighten the mood and just get them playing and enjoying playing football again, because it can't have been a very nice atmosphere to have been around in the last few weeks. So I think that's going to be John's role, just kind of put his arm around those players that need it and say, look, we go again. You know, and just see where we go and see if he can force his way into. Because, like, look, take Charlton for example. I don't know many fans outside of Charlton that would potentially have heard of Johnny Jackson before he took the job at Charlton.
Johnny Jackson, that's it, not Ronnie Jackson.
But he's come in and he's done the job.
Yeah,
that's what I want for John McGreal.
But I reckon Ronnie would do the job as well. You know, fucking me and manager names. Anyway, Alan Cook has been sacked as town manager. Honestly, I'm awful.
But
Colin,
go on,
Alex. Go on.
Just on that point, I think getting the right backroom team is just as key as getting the manager. Because the last couple of managers we've had, it's always been like we've got the manager, but we've not got the lieutenant. So getting that backroom team in that the manager wants could be just as key as getting the actual manager himself in.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you there. It's going to be, you need the full package. I think George would definitely say the same. George, before we go, very quickly, say who you would like as Ipswich Town manager, because yours is a very interesting name, and I feel the people at home would love to hear it. So, and then we'll come to Colin for a score prediction, and then we'll end the show. So, George, your managerial choice, my man. It's interesting.
So mine, and I will freely admit that 6 weeks ago I didn't know who he was. But when Norwich were looking, obviously I'm in Norwich, as most people know. We're looking. His name came up as a potential shortlisted candidate, and I've been looking over the last couple of days, and now I've fallen in love with him. The chap I'd be seriously looking at is Kjetil Knudsen, who's the Bodo Glimt manager in Norway. I would highly recommend looking up his record over the last 2 years. He's the name that I would have as my outside bet.
And any particular reason why he'd be your outside bet? What about him excites you?
The way he speaks about the kinds of teams that he wants to build, the team that he's built in Norway. He's won Coach of the Year the last 2 years. They won the league for their first time in their history 2 years ago, and they absolutely whitewashed it and scored some ridiculous number of goals. I did write it down. Hang on. 100 and something goals in 36 games or something silly. 103 goals in 30 games, 26 wins. I would at the very least recommend just glancing over his stats.
Craig at Portsmouth. Is he Jonas's dad?
Spelt slightly differently. So I'm assuming. Also, they beat Roma 6-1 a couple of months ago.
They did. That's when he first came on my radar. When he handed Mourinho an absolute thumping. Have you passed it on to the powers that be, George? Because I would send that in a document class marked highly classified, important
couldn't
information.
Possibly comment. Who am I going to pass it on? I've passed it on to you. I've passed it on to the internet.
I would be forwarding that on as marked high class or highly classified. The Fisherman says I'm his goalkeeper coach if he gets the job. We know he's gone in for it. Lee Bayliss asked the question, "Where's my Christmas tree?" I'll tell you where my Christmas tree is, Lee. It's in the fucking fields. Colin, it's the 12 days of Christmas, Lee, not the 400. Remember that. Colin, your score prediction, please. Fucking Christmas tree.
I'm going to go Charlton 1, Ipswich 3. And Graham, I'm not dreaming.
Alex, score prediction.
I'm going to go 1-0.
Love it. And George, are you going to get off that fence for a score prediction?
I'm going to go 2-1 Town.
Fucking hell, he's actually got an opinion on it. Love it. I've loved tonight's show. It's been really, really good. Thank you all so much for being with me. Thank you, Marcus, for being with me. Thank you for the super chats. We're back tomorrow at 7:15. Myself, Steve Thompson, and Neil Moles. Johnny's still going for the 0-0. Have another whiskey, Johnny. You might get a 1 in there. 2-1 says Neil Perks. Neil, you didn't come on the show. I was just thinking that you didn't come on. I'm so sorry. Come on tomorrow's show or Wednesday's show. Monty said, let's get behind John McGreal. He is our manager. And Cruncher says, don't let Mike near a keyboard. # fat fingers.
Gav, could I just say one last thing? You play us tomorrow. I mean it from the heart. Cruncher will be there. My 2 boys will be there. There'll be 3,200 other people there. We've filled out nearly every away end this season. I wish I was going, but because of work, I can't. Please, when you go out there, you do your warm up and see that lot. Just do it for them. Do it for them people, because they go all over the place. They spend their hard-earned money, and there's 1 or 2 of you, 3 or 4 of you, maybe 5 or 6 of you, who really, over the last few months, should have a good look at yourselves in the mirror. Just do it for the people who matter, and it's the fans more than anybody. Please.
I'm sure I heard you cough earlier, Colin. I can't come to work. Can you imagine it? And then suddenly it goes, this is an important announcement. You'd be fucked. Right. Love it. Nice way to end the show, Colin. Absolutely
Love you, Gav.
Brilliant. Govs, that's nice to clip that up. Facebook user with a name I've not heard in a long time in managerial circles, Paul Clement, next manager. Interesting one.
Ryan Lowe for me. Ryan Lowe for me.
There we go. I still say George is right, but we'll wait and we'll see.
We're on a journey, looking back on the things that we've taken for granted, but feels like we're not.